Imagine an ordinary summer morning. Children are walking to school and families are eating breakfast. Then, in less than 1 second, a flash brighter than the sun levels the entire city. On August 6, 1945, Hiroshima became the first target of a nuclear weapon, an event that forced humanity to reckon with a new kind of power. To understand how the world reached this point, we have to look at the global landscape in 1945. Germany had surrendered, closing the European theater of World War II. But in the Pacific, the conflict showed no signs of slowing down. The Allied advance toward Japan was costly. At Iwo Jima and Okinawa, thousands of soldiers were pinned down in grueling combat, resulting in massive casualties for both sides. Military planners looked at these losses and saw a terrifying projection. A full-scale ground invasion of the Japanese mainland could cost millions of additional lives. Allied commanders sought a way to force a surrender without a mainland invasion. This strategic pressure led them to deploy a radically new, untested technology. Far from the battlefields, the United States had been funding its most ambitious and highly classified scientific endeavor. In quiet laboratories, the Manhattan Project was working to harness the building blocks of matter into a weapon. J. Robert Oppenheimer served as the scientific director, guiding the project to the successful Trinity test in the New Mexico desert on July 16, 1945, demonstrating that humanity could now weaponize the energy of the atom. Target selection followed. Hiroshima was chosen for its military importance and because it had escaped the heavy firebombing campaigns that had already destroyed other Japanese cities. By August 6th, the delivery mechanism was ready. Colonel Paul W. Tibbets piloted a B-29 bomber named the Enola Gay, carrying the atomic payload nicknamed Little Boy. This monumental scientific achievement stood in contrast to a chilling reality. The fate of an entire city was decided by a distant, high-level calculation. At 8:15 a.m. local time, the Enola Gay reached its target. The bombardier released the payload from high above Hiroshima. The bomb fell for 43 seconds. Then, 600 meters above the city surface, the detonation sequence triggered. Witnesses described the immediate visual phenomenon as a flash brighter than the sun that instantly vaporized everything near the epicenter. A fraction of a second later, a massive concussive blast wave tore through the city. The force collapsed reinforced buildings and shattered glass for miles in every direction. Extreme thermal radiation followed, igniting thousands of uncontrollable fires across the ruined urban landscape. As the city burned, a towering mushroom cloud rose high into the atmosphere, creating the defining visual signature of the nuclear age. In less than 1 minute, abstract military strategy translated into the total physical annihilation of a living environment. On the ground, the destruction was absolute. The blast wiped out the city's medical infrastructure, killing the very doctors and nurses needed to treat the survivors. By the end of 1945, an estimated 140,000 people had died from the explosion and its effects. The victims were overwhelmingly civilians. Those who survived the initial blast faced a complex biological aftermath. Many suffered severe thermal burns, while others began to exhibit symptoms of the previously unknown phenomenon of radiation sickness. These survivors became known as the hibakusha, or bomb-affected people. Bearing deep physical scars, their testimonies remain the most critical historical records of the event. The weapon inflicted a prolonged, intimate agony upon generations of survivors, proving its effects reached far beyond the immediate explosion. The military follow-up was immediate. 3 days after Hiroshima, the United States dropped a second atomic bomb, called Fat Man, on the city of Nagasaki, resulting in another 74,000 casualties. Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender on August 15th, formally ending World War II. In the decades since, a profound historical debate has persisted. Proponents argue that the bombings forced a rapid surrender and saved millions of lives that would have been lost in a mainland invasion. Critics maintain that Japan was already on the verge of collapse and that the mass slaughter of civilians was an unjustified act. This unresolved debate forces every subsequent generation to weigh the brutal arithmetic of war against absolute moral boundaries. The sheer power demonstrated in Japan permanently altered international relations, triggering the nuclear arms race of the Cold War. Today, Hiroshima is no longer a ruin. It has been rebuilt into a vibrant, modern metropolis. At its center stands the Hiroshima Peace Memorial and the Atomic Bomb Dome. These sites are preserved as visible scars, ensuring the past remains present. Every August 6th, people gather here to echo the survivors' simple plea for global peace and nuclear non-proliferation. Maintaining the memory of Hiroshima forces future generations to confront an inescapable reality. Supreme destructive power is always paid for in human lives. If this story helped you understand one of history's heaviest chapters, like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments what event we should explore next.